I am Janice Riley with Janley Consulting, and tonight we're going to talk about how to start your first business. So Janley Consulting is a company I launched 6 years ago with an effort with a focus to help businesses, especially women-owned businesses, be more successful, to strategize and plan for their future success and to make the most out of their optimum success. So we'll get started with our slides. And here we go. So first, we're going to cover knowing what the right business idea is for you. Then we'll review selecting the right corporate structure, strategic plans, and why you need one. Goal setting, everybody's favorite thing to do, and why it's actually important for you to have goals. And last, talking about free resources for startups. Knowing the right business idea for you. There's a book out there called What Color's My Parachute, and it's one of the standard go-to resources for figuring out what you like to do, what your interests are, what are you good at, how does that all fit together, what's the right job for you. You may have taken various assessments such as the DISC or the Myers-Briggs personality test and a variety of different forms like that, which basically all boils down to what is your personality type, what are the natural things that, because of who you are and what you bring to the table, are you going to do well, you're going to do naturally, what are you going to enjoy doing. So the key to finding the perfect job or the perfect business is figuring out what you enjoy doing, what people will pay you to do, and then finally, what are you good at? Where do all of those overlap? And that's the perfect job or the perfect business. So the idea is, what brings you to life? What is your passion? What's going to make you get up, get out of bed, and actually go into your very own office and make a success at it just because it's what you love doing? And that's how you figure out what the right idea, what the right business is for you. Because I can tell you, many of us would agree with this, that our entrepreneurs, there are days where you're going to enjoy what you do, and there are days where you're going to wonder why you ever signed up for this program, why you ever signed up to start your own business and run your own company. And that's when it has to be the right fit for you. That's when you have to have made that decision that this is what it's all about, this is what I want to do, this is the right thing, and you can go back to that time and time again and be committed to make it work. So the next step is selecting the right corporate structure. First, as they say with any tax advice, you always hear, consult a tax attorney or accountant for specific legal professional advice, and they will help you consider the pros and cons for each entity based on your actual circumstance, because that's going to differ person to person. You can also talk with the Small Business Administration or SCORE for free. They are counselors that volunteer or are paid by the federal government to work with you and help you launch your own business. And they're great at providing advice to help you get started and figure out where do we go from here. There are 3 key factors in the different structures that you need to consider when trying to figure out which one's right for you at this time. The liability, the taxation, and the record keeping. The first identity is the sole proprietorship, which is very basically easy to form and report the taxes. You would have to do quarterly returns. It, as it says in sole proprietor, it is actually one owner. So it's very basic. Gives that owner complete managerial control of the company. They are personally liable for all financial obligations of the business. So if the business has loans, has any basic obligation, the person is financially responsible for that. The other key thing to keep in mind is that when it comes to funding, when it comes to financing the company, it will be the responsibility of the sole owner, and makes things difficult as far as getting investment dollars and being able to provide opportunity and equity to anyone else. The next one is a partnership, which obviously means there are two or more owners. Key thing to keep in mind here is it's not solely two. It could be three or more. And usually with that, there's a principal partner and then there's the associates. The tax burden with partnerships pass through to the partners for them to report on their individual taxes. Each partner is liable for the obligations of the business. They each must file a partnership tax return form 1065. Each partner is legally able to act on behalf of the partnership. So there isn't a two-signature needed. The partner can be out making decisions that represent the entire company, as opposed to the sole proprietorship, which would just be the one owner. And for a partnership, more legal and accounting services are needed because there's more to organize, more to track, more to keep record of. The next entity type is corporations. Corporations are more expensive and they take longer to form, but it gives you the ability to get away from being personally liable for any obligation of the company. You obviously would need legal services to set up the corporation and to proceed with going forward, handling issues, as well as accounting services. There's extensive record keeping that's required with corporations, but it does provide you the ability to raise funds through the selling of shares and stocks, which is one of the things you hear about when a company IPOs, goes public, or you're looking at getting angel investors. They're wanting to buy their way into equity. They want to own a part of the company, which means they want to own stock. They want to own shares in the company. And that's what having a corporation provides you the opportunity to do. An S Corp allows for income or losses to pass through to the individual tax returns. So depending on how the business does, it actually impacts the individual's return, not just the corporation's returns. One of the things to keep in mind with a corporation is there's a possible double taxation issue, that you would be taxed on revenue as the corporation and then also again as an individual. One type of entity that's a hybrid of a partnership and corporation is the limited liability company. The LLC has actually become very common these days compared to 10-20 years ago, and it's kind of the best of both worlds for partnerships and corporations. The profits and or losses actually pass through to the individuals while still shielding you from personal liability for the company. The actual tax treatments of LLCs vary by state, which goes back to the original caveat of talk to a local attorney or tax accountant about which one's the best fit for you. LLCs do provide flexible management depending on what's right for the company and what's right for the partners. or managers, people that are engaged in the company. It also gives flexible distribution of profit and losses. The one key difference between limited liability companies and corporations is that there's no stock available, there's no equity for distribution, so it limits the ability to fundraise. You're looking more at commercial lending, loans, lines of credit, that type of financial support, instead of being able to get the interest of venture capitalists, angel investors, and that type of interest. There's also fewer incentives for employees because of the no stock issue. Usually when you're building a company and running a corporation, one of the things startups usually do is, if you get involved at this point, you get a lower salary, but you get so many stocks, so many shares in the company, or you have stock options. And that way, if the company does well and becomes widely successful, their stocks are of greater value, and it actually pays more than what their base salary would have paid if they would have actually been in a competitive rate. So how do you decide which structure is right for you? Well, can you afford the risk of the company's liability, depending on what type of business you're doing and what the risk is associated with that? May really help you decide that one easily. The tax implications of the structure. What's the best opportunity to minimize the taxation? One key thing to keep in mind. Also, at this juncture, coming out of the gate, one major thing to keep in mind is the cost of formation and administration. How much paperwork is going to be needed? How much time do you have for record keeping and actually getting the company started and kicked off? Sole proprietor is much less expensive as compared to starting an LLC or a corporation. How much flexibility do you want? What are the specific needs of the business and the specific needs of the owners? The last thing to keep in mind is, what's your exit strategy? 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now, what do you want to be doing? Do you want to be running this business? Are you interested in being acquired by a big box company, the big guys? Or are you looking to hand it off to one of your children and have them take the company over? Where do we go from here? And that may really give you a great clue onto which one's the exact fit for you. On to planning, everybody's favorite thing to do. So, strategic plans and why you specifically need one. So just the general overview of what all goes into a plan. Your basic outline includes your executive summary. It includes your elevator pitch, which everybody's heard of, the 30-second elevator pitch. Tell me the who, what, when, where, why, and how of your company in 30 seconds. Tell me on an elevator why I should get involved in your company. Your mission statement. What are you actually trying to do? Why are you doing this? Your SWOT analysis. SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's taking the time to actually go through the entire situation and figure out what are your strengths, what are the weaknesses of your company, what opportunities exist, and what threats do you need to be concerned about. Key things to know for your future success. What are your goals, which we'll discuss in a minute. And related to that, what are your KPIs? What are your key performance indicators? The next key thing that's part of your plan is your target customers. Who is the target market? Who are you going after? Who is the best fit for you? What are the demographics of those? Have you actually figured out and determined what that persona is, what that person looks like, can you tell me about them? Your industry analysis, what is going on in the industry, what's the latest trends, where are things going, what's the future analysis look like. Next, we have the competitive analysis and advantage. Who is your competition? What is your competition doing? And how successful are they? What market share do they have? What kind of opportunity is there for somebody else to enter that market? And what is your advantage over the competition? That's the key thing any investor or financial advisor is going to want to know. Next, your marketing plan. How are you going to go to market? What's the pricing, the placement, distribution plan? How are you going to promote it? And what is the actual product? What's that look like? The next key piece is the management team. Who's responsible for finance? Who's responsible for marketing? Who's responsible for general operations, product management? All of those different pieces, itemizing that out. And then your operations plan. How are you going to make things happen? Final key piece of the strategic plan are the financial projections. What's the first year look like? The second year, third year? Where you plan on going with this? How much money do you plan to make this year? And how much money do you plan on making in 5 years? Why do you need a strategic plan? Because if you're looking for investment money, you're looking for funding from the bank, or bringing in some key management team members, executives to help you, they're going to want to see it. They're going to want to know what your plan is, what your strategy is, how are you going to make things happen, what have you identified, what analysis, have you done your research, have you done your homework? So a plan, all of those key pieces we just went over, answers the key questions that you need to know in order to ensure your success. It identifies your market, it identifies your product, it identifies your go-to-market strategy, which is key in being successful. So many companies, so many startups have this bright idea of, like, I've got this great technology, this is what I'm going to go do, and they've never done any research, they've never figured out, well, who is the key buyer, who is the key person, what's the hot spot in the market that is going to buy this up? Is this targeted at teenagers? Is it targeted at moms of preschoolers? Is it something that's for the sandwich generation, baby boomers? Who is it, and how are you going to reach them? These are the key things that need to be figured out as you're launching your company, so you put time and effort into the right things. So why do you need a plan? So that you can actually determine what you need to do in order to make money. So I worked with a client years ago who was designing this product and coming up with all these great ideas and all these different great designs for what he was doing, product design, and had never actually produced a prototype, never actually sat down and figured out, okay, if this is the price of this product, how many do I need to sell per week or per month in order to make enough money to cover my expenses, to cover my costs, and actually be able to pay myself a salary at the end of the month? At what price point do you need to sell your product? Figuring out the product, figuring out the price, where does it need to be in order to cover the cost of goods sold and actually give you a healthy profit margin so that you can grow and be successful. Another key thing to keep in mind is what production level is necessary. How many gadgets do you need to be making? Are you baking cupcakes and selling cupcakes? Well, how many cupcakes do you need to sell per day in order to be successful. On to goals. Why is setting a goal important? Because it gives you direction for where you're trying to go, what you're trying to do, and how you're going to get there. The key thing for a goal is to be smart. Not just intelligent, but to be specific, to be measurable, to be achievable, to be realistic, and to be time targeted. So specific. That means nailed down precisely what are you talking about? What does that goal look like? It's back to the cupcakes. Specific is we need to sell 10 dozen of cupcakes. Measurable, yeah, we know that was 10 per day, so we can actually track that and know if we hit that number or not. And achievable, is it possible to do 10 dozen a day? You know, based on how long it takes to bake 1 dozen, is it even possible for 10 to be baked in 1 day and decorated or not? Realistic, based on who's doing the mixing and baking and decorating. Is that going to be achievable? Is that a realistic expectation for them to be able to do that? And also time targeted, that it's nailed down to this is what it is per day. Not just, oh, we're going to do 10 dozen. Well, is that per hour, per day, or per year? How do we track that? Setting goals means you're working towards objectives that tie into those goals, which actually tie back to your original mission for the business. Where are you trying to go and how are you planning on getting there? It provides focus for the business. As you're running a business, so many different things come up in front of you, and there's plenty of fires to put out, and there are a variety of different opportunities that you can pursue. And by knowing what your goals are, it gives you guidance for what you do want to do and what you don't want to do and how to make decisions. Specific and ambition goals actually will lead to higher levels of performance. And whether that's your own performance or your employees, everybody's going to work at a higher level. And if you've ever set goals before, most of us have, and we've achieved those goals, you realize the satisfaction you have of meeting that goal. A lot of times, chocolate is involved with the actual achievement of the goal, and it actually energizes you for those battle-worn days when you're not wanting to do it. One more day, look at your goals, have your image in front of you, and it gives you the get up and go, swift kick in the rear you need to get out there and do it. Next, we have free resources for startups. The first one is SCORE. SCORE is an awesome group of nonprofit volunteers. They do a variety of online counseling and in-person counseling specifically for businesses. And it's startup businesses, people that have a business idea and haven't even officially launched their company yet, as well as existing businesses. There are nearly 400 chapters of SCORE across the country. One of SCORE's key products is the Small Business Smart Start tools, which can be found on their website, www.score.org. And SCORE is made up of volunteers who are working and retired executives. So you have experts from the financial area, from marketing. You have experts who have led Fortune 500 companies. You have experts who have done global business, international marketing, experts in the IT field, a whole variety of different pieces and areas that volunteer their time because they want to give back to other businesses. They want to give back to small businesses. and they're available to online, over the phone, or in-person counseling. At the incubator in Hagerstown, Maryland that I manage, we actually have an office in our management suite specifically for the local SCORE chapter, where they come in and meet with local small businesses, providing advice and help on a regular basis. And they also have their chapter meetings and discussions here as well. They're very actively engaged in our community. Another free resource for startups is the Small Business Development Center. There are over 1,100 branch offices across the country of SBDC. SBDC also puts on a multitude of workshops on a monthly basis. They have personal, like I teach one, the business toolkit, or the toolkit for success, as well as business-related ones about government contracting and getting on a government schedule. Check out your local SBDC and find out what training they have available to help you with your business. They also have a large resource library of information available for small businesses, and all of their programs and their counseling assistant is available at no charge. It's a resource provided by the federal government. It's actually sponsored by SBA, the Small Business Administration. SBA also offers free at-your-pace courses. They have online courses, so you may want to learn more about marketing. You may want to learn more about technology, a variety of different things on managing your business. When I launched my consulting business back in 2008, I was getting my hands on everything, every book that had to do with consulting, starting your own consulting business, anything that was out there that was related to that space, or business management, business development, to learn more and to stay on top of the current trends and what was going on. SBA and their free courses that you are able to do at your own pace is a great way to do that. They also have specific resources for veterans. Most chapters will have most offices have a veteran services rep specifically who is trained and familiar with veteran affairs and what programs and funds are available for veteran businesses. There are also women's business centers with SBA, so they are specifically targeted at helping women-owned businesses. So I suggest going to SBA's website and finding out what the local center is in your area. And next key piece is the U.S. Chamber Small Business Center. They have a specific startup toolkit available for startups. They have a huge library online that's available for businesses. And another key piece that they help with is government contracts guidance. Depending on what your business is, what your idea is, getting into government contracts and working with the government, dealing with them, could be a really great opportunity for you. If you've never done it before, it's definitely something you're going to want to find somebody that has and get guidance and help in working with that and how to do that. Another resource is the successfulstartup101.com. This is actually a local business here in Maryland that started an online magazine for startups. You have Inc. and all these other magazines for business that exist out there, but there's nothing that is really focused solely on startups. So Tabitha decided to start a magazine specifically focused for startups and what startups need. So check out Successful Startup 101. Hello. So I hope you have lots to think about now and lots of research to do to find out which is the best fit for you with the corporate structure, how to set goals, and start working on that business plan and figuring out what piece of the market do you want to go after. So I am now available for questions. Let me know specifically what you're interested in learning more about. And my contact information is also available. So you can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, email, all the above. So thank you, and I look forward to answering your questions.